Hey everyone.
Wait, just wait for a second so you can get on your live.
Oh,
You ain't even getting on your live. Wait for a second so you All right. What's up? What's up, everyone? Hope you are in good spirits today. Conversation is your communication or lack thereof hurting your relationship? Stats. I did some research this time. Stats say from Regain US, I guess regain.us, states that 67.5% of marriages end because of communication problems. I am Ron,
and I'm Angela.
and this is
Chatter
Chatter
of
of
Opinion.
Opinion. Today we are talking communication, and not just any type of communication. We are talking effective communication.
Yes.
You talk to your loved ones every day. Just because you are talking doesn't mean that the other person is receiving exactly what you are trying to say. Period. Sometimes you could just go on a rant and you hope that they are understanding what you are trying to communicate, but it doesn't work that way all the time.
Yeah, I agree.
There are many different styles when it comes to communication. There's many different ways. And unfortunately, sometimes the way that you were raised, the way that you grew up, doesn't necessarily carry on into your adulthood. So when you get into a relationship, you have to figure out the best possible way to communicate to your partner, the best way that you can communicate for them to understand both sides. And you have to also be willing to understand what they are saying.
But your upbringing definitely can reflect that, right? And it's up to you to work on it if you care to communicate not necessarily a better way, but an effective way.
Effective. That's the key
Right?
word is effective communication. People communicate all the time, but just because you communicate does not necessarily mean it's effective. Especially, you should know this if you have children. When you start talking about your kid or to your kids or to some people that you hang around, you can understand that sometimes people just be talking and they are all on understanding what they're saying, but you are so confused. All right. So today we are talking effective communication, and does the way that you communicate hurt or help your relationship?
Mm.
Right? Styles. We're going to come up with some styles first.
Okay.
There
What's the
were
first
four
one?
I looked up, and the first one is passive.
Okay.
In your definition of passive communication, what would you describe as being passive?
To me, passive is like dismissive, kind of easygoing, not really putting too much emphasis, kind of go with the flow, I guess
Okay.
that's my definition
So
of
passive
passive.
communication could be submissive and easygoing, people pleasing. Like
Mm.
you always there for them. You
Yeah,
always,
like a yes
yeah,
man.
yeah, got positive things to say. No matter if the situation is jacked up, you are the one that is communicating a positive manner. Sometimes you communicate so good for their benefit that you forget to
Like
recognize,
stand up for
yeah,
yourself.
how it affects you.
Yeah.
The second one would be aggressive.
Oh,
Whoa, aggressive is intimidating,
argumentative.
argumentative, you know what I mean? And sometimes hostile.
Mm.
They're on you like, hey, you're going to do this, and I'm going to tell you, and they take control, and they're
Overpowering.
yeah,
Yeah.
in control of the whole situation. Now, I can't knock this style of communication because some people in some relationships feed off of aggression. Sometimes they cuss each other out, this, that, and the other, and they press on like nothing happened. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What was that movie called? The Tyler Perry movie with the big buff brother, and then him and his girl used to cuss
Diary
each.
of a Mad Black.
No,
Why
why did I get
did I
married
get
or whatever,
married?
and they were
Yeah.
on each other the whole
They
time.
love to
But
argue.
that's the way they communicate.
Mhm.
That's just them. You know what I mean? That could be an aggressive way of
Okay.
communication. The next one would be,
Passive aggressive,
all right.
which you give the impression that you're okay with it, that you
Mhm.
kind of dismiss it, but yet you're either A, are angry,
Okay.
or B, kind of do snide like stuff
Mm.
to show your anger, but you still are kind of dismissive. So you're not really being upfront.
So you're kind of putting on
show.
show, like, yeah, you know, okay, I
Whatever.
understand. Yeah, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
But deep in your mind, like, I can't stand this mug. Nah,
Mhm.
why, you know?
Or how dare him,
Yeah,
or
tell
whatever.
me this, you know what I mean? I can't,
But you're not confronting it.
not
Yeah.
confronting. So you could be passive aggressive. Passive meaning in the front of somebody, you're good, but deep down inside, you just calling them all kind of names and stuff like that. All
And
right?
the last one is assertive. So what is that?
Assertive. When you hold clear and upfront, direct conversation without being rude or, let's say, disrespectful.
Okay.
Yeah, when you're assertive, you just say, "Hey, this is what I need. This is how it is." Blah blah blah. But you ain't rude about it. You just
Clear,
throw it out there.
concise.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes that doesn't work because of the fact that I can misunderstand what you're actually doing. You know what I mean? I can actually take assertive as being aggressive. If you tell me something and you being just straight up with it, I can be like, "Well, what? Why are you?"
That might be based on your sensitivity level too.
It
But
might be.
so do you think that people may show different communication styles based on who it is that they're communicating with?
Yes.
Right?
But I think it's kind of when you're in a relationship with someone, you look at them as far as how you perceive that they're going to receive the information. If
Mhm.
I'm looking at somebody and I know that they ain't paying me no attention, I might have to be aggressive.
Kind of how
Like,
they say
look.
with mothers, I wasn't yelling the first 5 times that I asked you to do something,
Right.
but by the 5th time, that's when you heard me, and then you want to say that I was yelling and being aggressive, but you didn't say anything the other 5 times that I asked nicely.
Right. So sometimes you look at the person and you know who you're dealing with, and you just like, you know what? I got to be aggressive with this person. Or you think that the person is normally aggressive and you don't fight aggression with aggression. So what you do is you try to be assertive, like, look, you know what? Or you try to be passive and, hey, I need you to do this, or this is what I was thinking, and blah, blah, blah. Because you know you want to avoid a confrontation.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So depending on who you're dealing with at times is the way that your style may be.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
that's true.
I don't know if any time that I would have to be aggressive where I'm intimidating to make you do. When you get to that point where you're trying to make somebody do whatever it is that you're trying to make them do, then sometimes that's a lost cause. But in a relationship, you really have to pay attention to who you are dealing with.
Yeah.
Because some of the communication styles might not work.
True.
All
Very
right.
true.
So
all right, so let's talk about good communication first.
Okay, let's go.
Let's
with
do the good before the bad. Or should we do the bad before the good?
Let's do the bad and always
Okay.
end on a good note.
All right.
All right.
So bad communication. The first one, we have criticism and defensiveness.
Yeah, bad communication. If you're trying to tell me something, or you take the time to invest in me as far as communicate, but then everything you say, I'm criticizing you, like, oh, that's stupid, or that's dumb, this, that, and the other. Or when you first open your mouth, then I'm already on the defensive, like, why are you coming at me like that, or this, that, and the other. That's a bad way to communicate. You should always kind of listen and hear them out to see what they want to say.
Right.
So bad communication and defensiveness and stonewalling is another one.
Okay, what's
stonewalling? Could be
explain
like
that?
when somebody refuses to talk. Like you're talking and then I'm just standing there like, whatever. You say whatever you got to say.
So is that the same as like the silent treatment, or that's more just I'm here but I'm not participating?
Yeah, probably so. You're saying something, I'm here. I'm just not going to participate in your buffoonery. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get involved in it. You could talk all you want to. I'm just going to stonewall you and be quiet. That's not effective communication. Is the bad way to communicate, because if there's something that's bothering you, you should at least express or be able to express how you feel.
I've never heard that word before. Stonewalling.
I looked it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I was playing words with friends. Somebody said I was stonewalling them, so I had to look it up.
Oh,
put it in the
okay.
podcast.
All right.
No, anyway.
Noted. Next one.
Controlling the narrative is the next one. When you're trying to talk and you're trying to actually hold a conversation with someone and then they're controlling what you're trying to say.
Right. It's like I'm the one who came to you to communicate and you're kind of like leading, directing, and
Right.
persuading the conversation to go
normally to their
maybe in your
side,
favor,
or
or even if it's just more of me sharing my feelings of how you made me feel.
then I'm going to
Maybe
tell you
you're
how you
telling me
should
how,
be feeling.
that why do you feel like that because of this, and that.
Mhm.
Okay. And last one, we have not communicating at all. Just not necessarily the stonewalling and like being present, but just not talking, but just not telling that person anything at all so that they understand that there's an issue.
Yes,
Right?
just not
So
reaching out,
just-
not saying anything. You
Right.
just have
Good
an
or
issue.
bad.
Mhm.
Good or bad, whether it's good, like, hey, you did this and I loved it. Because communicating shouldn't always be communicating negative stuff.
Oh no, this is
Right?
communication overall. You know what I
Correct. It
mean?
should be also positives. Hey, honey, the other day you did this and I really appreciated it.
Right,
Right?
right.
Things like that. So just period, not communicating whether good or bad, but just not saying anything at all.
Yeah, and the bad thing about that is if you don't communicate, you don't say anything, all this stuff kind of builds up. So you have situation after situation where you are silent. And then what happens is you let it loose. And then you're talking about stuff that's not even relevant anymore because you have built up 20 things, then all of a sudden your anger is for all of them, not just one incident. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? I need some time to collect my thoughts. Okay, we're gonna get to that.
Mhm.
Rock Hennessy
We
says
will.
she needs some time to collect her thoughts. That is also on our board as well.
But if you need time to collect your thoughts, that's part of communicating and say, look, I acknowledge what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
but right now is just not a good time. We're hyped right now, blah, blah, blah. So I just need to step away, not just walk away.
Yeah, don't just dip. You know what I
Correct.
mean?
So that's part of communicating, is saying, I understand that there's an issue right here. Let me gather my thoughts and then we'll meet back in an hour or tomorrow or whatever. And then we'll continue this conversation.
Right, right.
Okay.
So those were a couple of examples of bad communication.
Yeah.
Let's switch it over to good communication.
All right. So first one we have is pay attention.
Right.
And listen while they speak.
Listen while they speak. Pay attention. There's no worse thing when somebody's trying to talk to you than you being distracted and not focused on what they are telling you, especially if it's sensitive information.
Yeah.
What happens is they're paying attention to you because they want 9 times out of 10, people pay attention to what your reaction is, your facial expressions, this, that, and the other. So when you start talking, if you're not paying attention, that just throws off the whole conversation. Right. Period.
I agree.
You see what I'm saying? So you should pay attention and listen to what they are trying to tell you. Keisha says, what about the person who gets super emotional during a serious conversation, making the conversation awkward, so it ends? Woo! I don't know about that one. When it comes to super emotional, it just depends on what they are emotional about. You see what I'm saying? If they get super emotional, and you have to understand that the emotions are running through them versus through you, because you might not understand where they're coming from. You just have to let them vent it out. Sometimes it's all about just listening and not getting wrapped up in the emotional part of it.
But also, to me, that's could be part of the communication, because when Ron and I first met, I was very sensitive. And so anything he said to me, I took it the wrong way. Right. And so, but him trying to communicate to tell me, like, this is really what I meant, or I didn't mean this or that. So don't just say, oh, you're emotional, I'm not going to deal with you. I think that there's a way to talk through that as well, to guide each other through the emotions, so that eventually, like now, I roll with the punches, right? Rather than take you as serious as I used to.
Okay.
So yeah, I feel like that's part of it.
Yeah. And Hennessy says, yeah, but what about if the other person is someone that needs an answer at that moment? That's a sticky situation.
Sometimes you can't always do that, but if you communicate, like, I hear what you're saying and I know that you want an answer right now, but blah, blah, blah.
Just say, I don't want to say something like negative. I don't want to say something out of pocket. So just give me a minute. And you should know your person. Like a minute sometimes is not spending the whole night or 2 days and then coming back to the situation. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
You should know what what your partner can withstand. If they're forcing you to give them an answer, you might have to shelf it, or you just might have to give an answer and then just deal with the consequences
Yeah.
from there.
Alma says not just spouse or girlfriend, but in general, meaning communicating in general.
Yes.
So body language communication or not, the cold shoulder, for example.
Oh, like nonverbal versus verbal communication. I can understand that.
And so, yeah, misunderstanding leads to anger sometimes. Yeah, definitely. That's definitely can cause issues.
Yes. Crystal says, I'm a terrible communicator.
I don't know if it's a sisterly thing due to Juanita, but I agree, sister. We're not good communicators.
She says, my husband has definitely helped me in this department. Big up, Petty P. I agree.
My husband too. We've come a long way, and by we, I mean mainly me.
Yes, I agree. When it comes to good communication, you just got to pay attention to the other person and pay attention to what you are actually saying too, in hopes that they are receptive of what you're trying to say.
The next one is my favorite
because it pertains to me, definitely. The next one is listen to understand and not just to respond.
Yes,
I'm the first one to say in my days, I would listen to respond. I didn't care what you were actually talking about. I would just listen to keywords to respond. Yeah, for my comeback. So then when you said something, don't be like, okay.
To prove me wrong.
Yeah, now I'm processing in my mind what I'm going to say to you. I missed the whole conversation. I just heard what I needed to respond to.
Yeah.
So in this case, is listen to understand. If you can listen to understand where someone's coming from, then you would in the future understand how to respond to them. But you have to understand first before you respond. Don't just respond for no reason just because you're angry and you're using your context clues to respond.
Yes, I agree.
That's it?
No, we have another one. Oh, you mean more on that one?
You don't listen to respond? You always listen to understand where a person is coming from?
I just think that, to me, listen to understand and not to respond is also, in my opinion, is to try to understand that person's perspective, right? Okay. Even if you don't agree, if you don't agree, say I don't know, had an argument in the way this person's, whatever the case, say I just don't agree with you, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to dismiss how you felt. Maybe I hurt your feelings in the way that I said it. So I'm not going to not acknowledge that I apologize that I hurt your feelings, but I still stand by what I said or whatever. But instead of just because you heard, I didn't like the way you said it, and you didn't even let me say it made me feel this certain way right away. You just were responding because you felt like I was attacking you.
Correct. And in that case too, you got to understand that people are raised in a different background, different households, this, that, and the other. Just because somebody is communicating with you doesn't mean that they're right or wrong.
Totally.
What your job is to do is to understand where they are coming from. Like I said earlier, so if you guys face another situation as such, you'll know how to handle the situation.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You'll know how to communicate.
Yeah.
If you're just listening to respond, every time something comes up, you're just on the attack. You're on the defensive. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't understand where the person is coming from. You never should turn to listen.
Right? Alma says, or sometimes best not to answer or say anything because sometimes you're misunderstood. Yes and no. That's part of the better communicating, right? You don't want to not say anything, but there's other ways to communicate, maybe at a later time, maybe just to try to understand where they are in the conversation and sympathize with them, not be aggressive and stay calm. So those are maybe some ways to help the situation. Or again, say, I just need some time or space or a few minutes, blah, 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 come back, but not to just not say anything. It doesn't help.
Crystal also says she's not a good listener.
Oh.
You can't always, Crystal, you can't always want to be the communicator or the talker And then when somebody needs to talk to you, then you don't want to listen to what they have to say either.
Yeah.
So it's twofold. If you want to get it off your chest, you have to
Also
be
let
available for
them-
somebody else to communicate with you as well. So communicating as far as verbally and listening.
But
is the
Crystal,
same
that's part
thing.
of being present, because I think that, and this is just my opinion, I think that you respond, how is it, you communicate waiting to respond, but also you're somewhere else, not even like in the conversation.
Well, it just depends on what the conversation is, because some things are important, some things are not.
Correct, but just because they're not important to you doesn't mean they're not.
I think that's another podcast.
He does that to me all the time. I'm like, babe, I told you this, and he's like, I most likely wasn't listening to you.
No.
Like, he admits it. Like, I wasn't listening to you.
I was listening to respond. I was listening to see what I got to do in the situation. If I ain't got to do nothing, then I'll be thinking about what I'm going to do at the gym tomorrow or something. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So we went over the bad, which is the criticism and defensiveness, stonewalling, controlling the narrative, and not communicating, period. Went over some good, which is pay attention, listen while the person is speaking, listen to understand and not just to respond, and acknowledge what you understood.
Yeah, I think that's important, because sometimes that's how people are, like, one's here and one's here, and you guys miss each other. So if you're the one telling me you have an issue, it's probably good to be like, okay, I understand that you're upset that I did this or said this or spent $1,000 on clothes or whatever it may be, right? To make your partner know that I understand what the issue is.
Right. And don't get us wrong. In this conversation, when it comes to communication, it doesn't always have to be negative. You know what I mean? Positive communication is key as well. So it could be something where I'm talking and the other person, or you're not paying attention to me. It could be something where I'm trying to tell you how I feel, but then after I tell you, you just kind of disregard my feelings and whatnot. You don't want me to say anything, but I just need you to be there.
That's true.
Same with acknowledging what you understand. Like, if you're telling me something and it has to do with the relationship or what we have in common with each other, then I should be able to say, okay, look, you've told me this. I understand how you feel. I understand this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And then press on from there. You know what I mean? But sometimes, like I said, communication or talking can be going on, and the other person is kind of spaced out.
Yep.
So it's always nice at the end of the conversation or
yes.
during the event to say, you know what, I understand, or this is what I understood. So to make it clear.
Yeah. Am I understanding you correctly?
Yeah. What you're saying is you want me to this, and this, right? So that'd be clear communication in the conversation.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So my husband has asked me to say, I acknowledge what you said to make sure I heard him. Yes, that's exactly what we said. Acknowledge what you understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like I said, I could be talking and then you understand A, and then you react on A, and then I'm gonna get frustrated later on because that is not what I was trying to communicate with you.
Yeah.
Or you took the wrong information.
True.
Because let's be honest, ladies, y'all's communication when it comes to telling a story, you tell a story and that story like 30 minutes long. But what I need to know out of the communication is that the 2 or 3 minutes on how you felt, what I can do for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would not acknowledge that, and then you tell me if that's the way the communication was supposed to go.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So we'll go to the next one, which is tips to improve your communication skills. So Crystal, listen up.
Just Crystal, listen up, Crystal. All right. Our first one is work on it daily.
Daily communication with your significant other, your partner, your friends, your family is important. You know what I mean?
Catching yourself. Because I was just telling Ron, like, before I would start talking, like, it was as if my mind was already telling him, but my mouth would start saying it out loud in the middle of the sentence or the thought. right? And so now what I've done is, as I do it still, but I catch myself and then I rephrase it
Like for instance,
to be more clear.
Yeah, she would be like, "We need to get some hamburger buns,
And
some
hot
ketchup and
dogs.
mustard,
Yeah.
this, that, and the other." And I'm like for what?
Yes.
And then she'd be, "Oh, did I tell you that on Friday we're going to
someone's house for a
house
cookout,
and we have to bring some food,
Mhm.
right?" It got to the point where now I've told her, if you start off a sentence with "Did I tell you?" the answer's already no. Just repeat what you.
Because I do that a lot. I am spacey. I don't know if it's a hormonal thing as I age. I don't know, but I'm very foggy and just bad. And so yes, a lot of times I forget. Did I dream it? Did I tell you? Like, it's bad, and I admit it. So I do always like, did I tell you? And he's like, normally if you have to ask yourself that, you probably didn't.
Did not tell
And
me. Just tell
most
me again.
times it is indeed. He's like, nope, you didn't tell me.
No, just tell me again. So if you think, did I tell you? Just go ahead and tell me again, because you didn't tell me.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
So let's work on it daily. Make sure you communicate with your significant other, your loved ones, or whatever daily, so they understand you better and how to communicate. The second one is process your feelings first. Consider timing. Hennessy brought this up.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You have to process your feelings first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sometimes you're both too heated at the moment.
Right. So you have to think about what it is that you really want to communicate. If it's going to be negative or it's going to come out as fire, you might want to just back up and be like, you know what? Let me process this first. I'm going to get back with you, but we need to talk. You know what I mean? Let's pick up this conversation at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or whatever tonight. But make sure you stick to your word. If you want to process the way that you feel or what you think and how to convey that information to your partner, make sure you're in a decent frame of mind. Also, like I said, timing is important too. Don't have an attitude or you're thinking about what you need to say because you're processing your thoughts, and then let's say you're with a guy or a girl and they're watching the game or whatever, and all of a sudden you're like, "Hey, let's talk right now," when the person is
distracted.
Watching the game.
They're distracted. They're not available to communicate.
Right, because then that's going to be another issue. So you don't want to go down that road. Just think about the timing, not just the timing of the event or when you want to talk to them. Also, how long it takes you to communicate with the person. Like Hennessy said, what about that person that needs that answer right away? You know what I mean? You know how that person is. So if that person needs an answer right away, walk away for a second. Let them know that you're going to walk away for a second. Come back and give them the answer that you
not even right away. Don't go 4 or 5 a week without talking in the cold shoulder, because tribbles are real good at the silent treatment.
What do you mean tribbles? I'm good at the silent treatment. Hey, the less I gotta talk, the better it is for me. It's gonna hurt you more than it's gonna hurt me. If you don't talk to me, I'm good. You know what I mean?
That's
Eventually
we don't
talk. Not good for who?
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? It's good for me. If we ain't talking, we ain't talking. It just cuts down on me having to think about processing my thoughts and being, aggressive. You know what I mean? I'd just rather not say nothing. My mama told me, if you ain't got nothing positive to say, don't say nothing at all. Right? So if you in a heated battle with somebody, it's best not to say anything than to come with that smoke.
Okay.
Because I don't even smoke. No, you don't think that way?
Next.
But this is the conversation. See, do you see that the communication? She did exactly what
was I passive aggressive?
It said not to do. All right. Next one is make use of clear.
Make and use.
Yeah, make and use clear and universal words.
Okay, let's dig into that one. What does that mean?
Okay, what it means is when you're communicating with someone, you have to use words and you have to communicate with them so you both understand where you're coming from. Just because you use certain words back in Artesia, New Mexico, doesn't mean that I use them same words when I was growing up. You see what I'm saying? So what one thing means to you might not mean to me.
Okay.
Right? And how you communicate, you have to be clear that we both understand where you're coming from.
Could that also be your communication style? Like, I may normally be like an aggressive communicator, but because I'm dealing with you, then I'm going to change my communication style so that you understand.
Might be, because like Jasmine said, my mom, Roro, I see you. She says she's the bluntest and upfront person we know. My
Yeah.
mama tell you how it is.
She will tell you
She might not be right all the time, but she gonna tell you
what she feels.
thinks. Yeah, she gonna tell you. So you ain't gotta figure out what my mama is talking about because she gonna let you know up front.
Yeah, totally.
Now I don't think she's like the rudest person. Just some of the things that she said.
Not the rudest.
Some of the
she
things
could
that she
use
says
some refinement in the way she says stuff.
according to someone's feelings. You know what I mean? According to someone's feelings. If you lighthearted or you sensitive, you don't belong in our family. I can tell you that because we
can I tell you that I think if I would have met your mom right away before I built that callus from you, I would have taken her the wrong way. But my feelings would have always been hurt with your mom.
But our family is like that.
Correct.
We at each other. You know what I mean?
My mom didn't raise us like that. It was always us girls. My mom didn't like jab at us and like do stuff like that to like toughen us up. You know what I'm saying? We were like total opposite of that.
It's killer.
And so if I would have met your mom before I got used to you, I probably would have like been really sensitive with her.
Because we joke around a lot and we hit the juggler. And she wasn't used to that. So every time that I would jab at her,
I just didn't understand why people would be mean just to be mean.
It wasn't mean.
Well, to me, it was mean. Like, why are you telling me this?
Just showing love.
Because it's like fun for you. But it just didn't make sense.
I was getting you prepared for our family. You know what I mean? You got to hold your own in a triple household. You got to hold your own because we're going to get you.
Correct. Thank you for that. Thank you for the training because it has helped me immensely.
Okay. Jasmine says, I can't dumb it down for no one. You just got to understand me. And that's true. You know what I mean? Well, sometimes you got to understand where people are coming from. If that's you, if that's them and you know where they're coming from, you don't have to dumb it down for them. You got to know who you're dealing with.
Correct. But part of knowing who you're dealing with is communicating in the way that they understand. And they should reciprocate that as well.
Right. But then
don't just be like, sorry, this is the way I am. And you got to deal with it.
But you got to acknowledge if I come at you like that and I don't dumb it down, you got to acknowledge what you understand that I'm saying to you. If you don't want me to dumb it down, I'm going to let you have it. But then you got to acknowledge that this is what you understood that I am saying.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
All right. Another one is, where we at? Always consider your partner's feelings.
You don't agree with that one?
I don't know. It just depends on what the conversation is about.
My thing again was, even if we have a disagreement and I feel strongly about whatever it is that we're conflicting about, that doesn't mean to dismiss your partner's feelings in the matter. Like to be mean or to dismiss how they feel. Like, I'm sorry that you that I hurt your feelings and what I said or the way that I said it, but I still stand by my
it just depends on if it's a two-way conversation.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? If the conversation is going two ways, I'm not just going to say what I have to say and just totally dismiss you in the way that you feel about something. I'm going to also listen to what you have to say. I'm not going to be just direct and be like, forget your feelings or whatnot.
Correct.
You just listen to me and then I'm
but
good. But some
that's
people
the tip is to consider their feelings.
Right.
Okay. And then we have be okay with admitting that you're wrong.
Yes.
Like, you're correct. I was wrong in the way I approached it. Or now that I understand, I think differently. Or because you can change your mind in a situation for whatever it is that happened, you could have just mistook it. Right. And so when then you understand, okay, I apologize. I misunderstood what you said, or I was wrong for attacking you because I thought you said this. So I apologize.
Right. And recently I had to do that because I had a little bit to drink one night. And then we were talking about, she tried to do a nice gesture with,
I tried.
What was it called?
A scavenger hunt.
Right. And
I was trying to surprise him with a scavenger hunt. granted, Ron is very like, he's hard to get involved in stuff.
What? All right.
Yeah, he's open. He's gotten better. Or maybe it's just me figuring out what you're good with or not.
Right.
So I took the initiative to do a couple's scavenger hunt for us to like do something different than what we normally do, and to kind of get us out in Albuquerque, because we've been talking about there's a lot of stuff, or New Mexico, whatever. There's a lot of stuff in town that we just don't do. So I just thought that that was a way for us as a couple to go and kind of explore the city together.
And I was a little aggressive with, nah, that's just not my thing.
He just talked negatively about it the whole entire time.
Yeah.
And again, didn't really like consider like, well, you know, Angela took the time to do this and her intentions were
we're
she
in
had
a
good intentions.
Yeah.
It just wasn't quite something I would have liked to do.
Right. So I came off a little aggressive. Then the next morning,
He was also drunk too, though, or not drunk,
Oh,
but
I was
like,
drunk.
okay.
I was. Pat got me drunk.
I don't want to call you out, but
so then the next morning I apologized because I realized that the way that I came off was not respectful.
Marlene, no.
Yeah, it wasn't respectful. I should have just listened, heard it on out, and then pressed on from there.
Yeah.
Hennessy says, girl, you know he's straight to the point.
I know.
Kind of man.
I know. Crystal says, not the scavenger hunt with a laughy face.
Yeah, Crystal was a witness. But those are some of the tips on improving the communication. One of the rules I have, though, is when emotions are high, don't let words fly.
Don't hit under the belt.
Once again, when emotions are high, don't let words fly. So when you guys are in communication or trying to communicate with each other and emotions get a little high, don't just start saying things just to say things to hurt the
in
other
the
person.
moment.
Right, because eventually either those words are going to stick, you're going to start believing them, or the other person is not going to believe you because you're always talking out the side of your neck.
That's true.
Yeah, so don't let the words just fly. If you don't believe in it, don't say things just going tit for tat with someone.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, some people work that way. Like, oh, you're talking about why didn't you pick up the groceries? Oh, you're ugly, and then the other person was like, well, your ear is misplaced. Or, yeah, you know what I mean. So you go tit for tat, and it never really proves anything. It just proves that you can come up with some negative words or negative thoughts towards one another.
Yeah.
So, like Hennessy said again, if you need some time, take as much time as you need. Know what your partner is willing to kind of accept, or if it's going to turn into something totally out of hand because you waited too long and they're waiting to resolve the issue. But never talk negative. Don't just throw words out just to be throwing words out.
Yeah, I agree.
And also with communication, I'm a firm believer is if you have an issue, deal with the issue at that moment. Don't build up issues and then bring everything at one time, because some of it is not even relevant anymore.
That's another thing, is a tip for tat. If I'm coming to you because you said something that hurt my feelings, don't then bring up something from
you didn't even throw the trash out
a year later.
Yeah.
You know, because right now I came to you acknowledging something. It's not your time to bring. If you had an issue with something, then you should have brought it up prior.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but that comes with me, and I do this sometimes when it comes to listening to understand and not to respond, because you bring something up on me, then I'm gonna be like, oh, once I hear you bringing some stuff on me, I'm gonna think about 2 weeks ago, hey,
you did the same
this.
thing,
yeah, you did this,
just
this,
in a different context,
right? So then now we're talking around in circles, trying to match each other's buffoonery. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we've gotten better at that, but we definitely did that more back in the day until we realized that that wasn't helping the situation.
Oh yeah, it was tit for tat. No matter what it is, it was fair game. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, hey, I'm bringing it up.
You did this, So don't get locked up in the past. If you didn't bring it up or communicate it then,
then that's your
You
loss.
got to wait till then if there's another situation that it comes up.
Yeah. I would say though, if there's something that is an issue for you, to bring it up. If you guys are cleaning out the closet, cleaning your table or whatever, bring up certain things, but not to combat whatever it is that the other person has
Totally
brought to
agree. Yes.
your attention.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
I agree.
So that is
This one
it.
was fun.
Yeah,
I hope it was helpful.
Nice conversation. We were talking about communication. Just realize effective communication is the foundation for a healthy relationship. If you can't talk to your person as well as listening to your person in an effective manner, then there's issues that you guys have to work out. You should never be afraid to talk to your partner. You know what I mean? You should never be afraid to reach out, express how you feel, this, that, and the other. How they receive it, that might be a different issue, but you should never be afraid to communicate with them.
I feel too that the most important is if both of you are invested in your relationship and communicating better, then that is really the baseline. Like, I am invested in you and in your feelings and your emotions and in your security with me and in our relationship. And so I'm going to communicate better with you and for you because I want better for us as a unit.
You should always be reading the same book. You might not be on the same page at that particular time, but as long as you are reading the same book, eventually you'll catch up to your partner.
He always has good analogies.
I'm just saying that's how it is. If you guys are on reading two different books, there's never going to be a common ground. But if you're reading the same book, at the end of this book, you'd be like, hey, this is what I understood. This is what I read. How about you? And then you can explain your point of view and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I was like in a novel and Ron was like in the little thing, when you're in a public place in the toilet, they have like the little like things where you could read while you're taking a.
What kind of toilet you? What kind of bathroom you got?
I'm just saying, like, we were that.
We got that type of.
We were we not? Our communication has come such a long way, but we were like, we just weren't.
Right. And like I said before, you used to be, or you were the assertive person that it was clear and upfront to you, but the way that you communicate communicated was not the way that I would communicate. So I didn't understand a lot of things that you were trying to tell me. You know what I mean? And you would say it clear as possible on what you needed or this, that, and the other. And I was just like, all right, I didn't understand that because it ain't
so was it really clear? See, and I didn't feel I was assertive.
And same with me. I could tell you some things that would be clear to me, but then it wouldn't be clear to you. You didn't understand what I was trying to say until
we learned each other.
Learn and acknowledge what you understood. Okay, so this is what we're doing, or this is how we're going to do it, blah, blah, blah. Cool, let's just press on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think if you just keep each other's heart and like feelings at the forefront, everything will work out fine.
And getting to know who you are with.
Yeah.
Getting to know what communication styles basically reach the person that you are with is very important.
I agree.
Know who you are with. A lot of people talk, but they don't really communicate.
No, that's
a lot of people hear you, but they ain't really listening to you. So you just got to make sure you find an effective way to communicate with the person that you are with.
I agree.
All right.
Thanks, folks.
So that is our talk today about communicating. Think about it. Is your communication style or lack thereof affecting your relationship? Is it helping or is it hurting?
Yep.
Do you need to find a different way to reach out to your loved one, your partner, your friends? Or is it you that needs to learn how to just listen and take in everything that they need to say to you and then process it so then you can understand or better understand how to deal with the situation in the future?
Agreed.
All right.
Good job.
Until next time, we are Chatter of Opinion. Every Thursday, we are on here live with different topics. I put a phone number up there, which is 505-528-5653. That is a call-in line. So if you guys ever wanted to call in and be heard versus being seen, make sure you let us know. Also, if you want to be a host on here on one of our topics, I'll send you the link and we
Mhm.
can video you in so you can be a host on one of our topics.
Especially if you have a topic that you would like us to cover.
Yes, if you have a topic that you want us to cover, we'll put you on here and you'll be just like we are videoing. You'll also be a link in the video, a spot in the video. So you can follow us on YouTube, which is Chatter of Opinion.
Yep.
On Spotify, which is Chatter of Opinion as well. We really appreciate your support. And once again, the weekend is coming up, so make sure that you guys have a very safe and loving, blessed weekend. It is Mother's Day on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure
Happy
you reach out
Mother's
to all the
Day.
mothers, out there,
Forget.
old and new moms. I want to say Happy Mother's Day to you.
Happy
We
Mother's
really
Day.
appreciate everything that you do.
Until next time, guys.
I'm going to holler at y'all.
Bye.